Day 150, 12:20 at night. It's a Sunday night. If you're new to this, I document myself every day building my business. Business model is LBOs. So today I had a very interesting conversation today. And let's get straight into it. I talk about what I do every day. Today, not a super extravagant day. I went to work in the morning. We had a sales meeting. Went to work, and there was a wedding today that I went to for someone in my family, in my direct family, who's getting married. And I met some really interesting people there. One person I met, he owns a solar company, one of the biggest in the DFW area, one of the biggest, very large company. Well, in terms of solar, they're one of the biggest players. Now, if it's large or not, that's a different discussion, but they're definitely one of the biggest players in solar. So this guy, we talked a lot about sales and navigating objections and things of that nature. But the one thing I want to talk about is the part in our conversation where we were talking about private equity and growing externally versus internally. And since he's a business owner, I was kind of like picking his mind. I was like, okay, do you ever have people that like cold call you? He was like, no, I never have people cold call me. He's like, usually it's like they deal with someone at the front, like an assistant, and they will relay the message to the owner. And if it's important, the owner or the guy I was talking to, he would, answer the phone. And he was saying like 95% of the cold calls, he never touches them. So I was like, okay, the 5% that do, what do they talk about, right? And then he started explaining to me like different times when he actually spoke to someone that cold called. And then I asked him about private equity, what he thinks about private equity. And at first he thought I was talking about like growth, as in your company goes with private equity and like they sell a piece of the company for exchange of like cash. And he was like, yeah, it would be good if you want growth. And I was like, no, that's not what I'm talking about. Like, I'm talking about in terms of like starting a private equity company. And he was like, oh, like you need a lot of capital for that, which a lot of people always say that. QLA is a different method of doing it, right? And I wanted to pick his brain of like, okay, so you wouldn't grow externally. Like, how you feel about growing internally versus externally. But we could get into that. The main point, the most interesting part about that conversation was, and by the way, I'm not in a suit because I was sweating. There's a lot of dancing. I just showered, and yeah. But the main part of that conversation, I was like, okay, have you ever been approached to sell your business? He was like, yeah, private equity companies have approached me, especially when I was smaller. I was like, interesting. And he was like, I was like, how do they approach you? He was like, a lot of mail. They always send mail. They'll send mail with like free evaluation for your company, blah blah blah. And then it just fucking clicked for me, man. It really did. It was like I don't focus on sending mail. Why don't I just fucking do that? Why don't I just go all in on that? Cause based off of what this guy told me, you know, just send a shit ton of mail, and then follow up with the calls after. Because if you just cold call and you deal with all these gatekeepers, the numbers game is gonna be so slim. Like you're seeing it, man. Like, where's the number? Like this thing. We're still at 11 because I can't cold call on the weekends. We're still at 11. And I guarantee you, if I cold call tomorrow, have a new list, hit like 200 calls, 400 dials, it's very slim the amount of owners you'll actually talk to, let alone the amount like I the most ideal thing is if I like hit like 200 dials and I have like 50 to 100 people that answer the phone. Now, getting rejected versus getting someone interested is a different story. Like I just want to speak to the guy and I want to get rejected, but I can't even get rejected, you know what I mean? But maybe it's a mindset thing because the gatekeepers really relay the message. So I tend to not want to tell the gatekeepers like what I'm trying to sell or what's going on. I'm not necessarily selling anything. I'm trying to buy their company. So, I'm not gonna talk to someone that has like $14 an hour job that I'm trying to buy his company. You know what I mean? And it's a sensitive topic as well. But fuck it, man. I mean, I know the strategy. Now I just gotta apply it because I've heard this twice from people as separate occasions. The QLA guy told me you gotta send mail. You follow up with the calls. This guy's saying, okay, private equity companies, they approach us with mail. So what do I gotta do? Send out a shit ton of mail, and I'm not doing the sniper approach anymore. We gotta go wide. So essentially, going to the wedding, kissing frogs is always a good thing. You gotta kiss frogs to find a prince. That it's an expression. If you don't know what it means, you can look it up. But going to the wedding wasn't a waste of time because I got to meet this guy. I met a lot of new people, and yeah, let's see how it goes, man.